Hello, my name is James Ungureanu. I'm not a scientist, but rather a historian of science with a keen interest in the history of ideas, particularly Christian ideas. My own spiritual journey has followed alongside my intellectual journey. Before I was an academic, I was actually an architectural drafter. I did that for about 6 years before the Lord came into my life. While I was working as a drafter, I also started taking philosophy courses at a local community college. I began reading Plato and Aristotle and other great ancient Greek philosophers. I soon discovered Paul Davies' book, God and a New Physics. In this book, Davies seamlessly weaves together discussions on physics, mathematics, philosophy, and theology. He introduced me to Western religious thought, including a number of important theologians like St. Augustine and Thomas Aquinas, Roger Bacon, Francis Bacon, and the like. This became my spiritual awakening. These writers introduced me to the Bible, and the Bible ultimately led me to Christ. So I knew early on in my walk that Christianity was not only this feeling of absolute dependence, and no doubt it is, but also has this rich intellectual history. So at that point, I quit architectural drafting and decided to pursue a life of the mind. Now, the history of science and religion has always interested me. From my own research, I've come to the conclusion that the relationship between science and religion has always been very complicated. To borrow from neo-Orthodox theologian Richard Niebuhr, this is the so-called enduring problem. But for me, I've come to embrace St. Augustine's notion that all truth is God's truth. And that, I think, remains relevant for Christians in science today. We are called to bring all human learning, research, and discovery to bear on these fundamental questions. Now, the Augustinian solution to the alleged conflict is humility, both in the interpretation of nature and the interpretation of Scripture. But more than that, for St. Augustine, Christ is the transformer of culture. In the sense that he redirects and reinvigorates and regenerates the life of humanity and expressed in all our works. There is room within this approach for the thought that mathematics, logic, the natural sciences, even the fine arts and technology may all become instruments of that new love of God that rejoices in his whole creation and serves all his creatures.